We're speaking today with the wonderful Miss Mahogany L. Browne. She is the executive director of Bowery Poetry Club, artistic director of Urban Word in New York City, and the poetry coordinator at St. Francis College, the author of numerous books, including Black Girl Magic, Woke, and Woke Baby, among many others. We sincerely appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today. We are going to be talking about Woke, that you have in your hand right there. If you'd like to read a particular poem or the introduction, maybe, that would be fantastic.
Okay. Thank you, Jennifer. Thanks for having me. Woke, A Young Poet's Call to Justice, is a collection of poems from myself, Elizabeth Acevedo, and Olivia Gatwood. We have each poem illustrated by the amazing Theodore Taylor III, and a pretty miraculous introduction forward by Jason Reynolds. So I'll just read what it means. What does woke mean? What does it mean to be woke? Having these discussions with young people, woke is really just about, this book is about giving them the building blocks as they become global citizens and social justice leaders, critical thinkers for tomorrow. What does it mean to be woke? In the simplest sense, it means to be aware. It means to see your surroundings and challenge how we strengthen our relationships with the government, the community, and nature. To be woke is to fight for your civil rights and to fight for the rights of your neighbors. I remember when I first heard neo-soul singer, DJ, and poet Erykah Badu singing Master Teacher. Throughout the song, the chorus echoed, "I stay woke." This refrain was tapping into the energy and curiosity that was introduced with the definition of woke during the civil rights movement of the 1960s and the Black Power movement of the 1970s. The idea of being aware of your surroundings, especially in a time when we are taught to be quiet and not rock the boat, can be difficult to embrace. But this is where our freedom begins. To be woke is to understand that equality and justice for some is not equality and justice at all. We must stay alert. We must ask hard questions. We must stand for what is right, even when it is difficult and scary. So that's just a little bit on what it means, a little framework as folks jump into this collection. But each poem is designed to build that toolbox into something that's much stronger. And each poem has a theme. Activism is one, ableism is another, allyship, body positivity, community, empathy, equality, forgiveness, freedom fighting, gender, immigration, individuality, intersectionality, joy, justice, prejudice, privilege, protest, resistance, resourcefulness, silencing, stereotyping, volunteering, and what it means to be woke.
Wow, and that's a lot to cover, in a book for children too. But there's so much that you can say in a 5-stanza poem. I mean, that's the thing that's beautiful about this book. It's, it conveys so much. And I have a 5-year-old myself, and she's asking the difficult questions, of course, because there's just so much going on around them that's difficult for us to understand. So I think a book like this is really important to really bring things down on their level and just let them know that it's okay. And, we're going to process this as best we can.
Yeah. I love that. I love that it's a beginning point. It's a compass for the beginning of the conversation. And sometimes I wonder if this book is really just for kids. Like, if we're having discussions about empathy, forgiveness, and compassion, what does it mean to be community and an ally? I feel like there's so many folks that are in power now in Congress and Senate. You have all these folks who wield this power but don't have the actual definition of the things that they need to know when thinking about transformative justice and things that they need to know when thinking about intersectionality. They don't have the small framework that's quite, like it's the bedrock of your understanding when it comes to being a part of a community, and folks are lacking that understanding. So not only is this for the kids, which thank you, and we need them to know now because they're going to take over a world. And why try to, recreate the wheel?
Exactly. And it's a lifelong lesson too. This is a constant conversation that's going to be had. So to have it in a book that you can keep next to their bed or something and just pull it out one day and read one and just remind them that it's okay to be who you are, and that there's a lot of turmoil, I guess, going on in the world, but what does that really mean to a kid? It's, to put it in their words is a really beautiful thing. What was it like collaborating on this with Elizabeth Acevedo and Olivia Gatwood?
Working with Liz and Liv was really cool because I've known them both as younger authors, like teen poets. So to work with them now, as adults, both in their lane, both in their literary bag, like, there's things that they can do that no one else can do, was really fun and inspiring. We do have 2 group poems in here, so we were able to write poems together, me and Liz and me and Liv. And that was fun as well, because even though we weren't all in the same place, even the time zones were different at some points. Opening up that email and knowing that you had some like work that you were able to do with somebody all the way in, I think at that point she was in Santa Cruz, and Liz was traveling a lot at that point. This is before the lockdown. So it was really cool to, have that as a touchstone to come back to the email, and there be this really lush, green, growing work to do.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of fun and very fulfilling too, as we watch all of the events unfurl, And I've heard you say in previous talks, I don't remember where, that you're sort of writing these poems to a younger self who would have benefited from these messages of empowerment. Are you getting any particular feedback from young people, anybody that you encounter, about how it impacts them?
Oh yeah, I've been receiving these really wonderful videos of kids that have memorized activism is poems, and the reach is beyond me, right? I realized that I really just had an idea. Shout out to my editor, Catherine Jacobs. She really let us just run to the ends of, what we could do, what we could see, and then gave us more space to like dream it even larger. So to see it come out like this, and to know that there are young people that are resonating with it is beyond. So receiving those emails, receiving like everybody reading to their kids, it's a part of several anti-racist library lists. It's generating a conversation that I did not know I wanted. I was like, I want to do these poems, and hopefully, people will be nicer to each other, and then we can, show up for each other. And then you realize that it's bigger than that. These are marching orders for us to be better neighbors and humans, and I'm here for it.
Definitely. I mean, just flipping through it myself, it was just reminding me, oh, I know somebody like that. Oh, I know somebody like this. I know somebody who's differently abled or non-binary. And something like this really just gives a stage for all those marginalized voices that really don't get any airtime. We focus on so many particular parts of society, but I mean, I guess literature in general gives our children a tool, sort of a weapon, I guess, against adversity. So just the concept of it alone is beautiful, but the fact that people are really internalizing it and bringing it into their lives, I mean, that's wonderful to hear. Do you have any comments on what's going on right now as far as justice? I mean, what does justice mean to you? Do you see it coming to America anytime soon?
That's such a large question, and I feel like every day we're asking ourselves that, as we watch the present administration prove to us that justice is not, a part of the fabric of our community. Not the way they were spitting it was. If you look at the Constitution and all the things they're upholding, but then you have all these weird actions that are really they're anti-American, they're anti-community, they're anti-neighbor. They are against folks rising up and actually having, a democracy, everything that's happening now. So when I think of justice, I'm like, I don't know, I feel like I'm spiraling, right? But what
Yes.
I wanted these poems to do is to just, give us some tethering to to be grounded in some way, to return to something, knowing that this way is not, one, it's not correct, right? It's inhumane, it's bullying, it's divisive. The ways in which our government has been running this country, even looking at, who can afford to get treatment for COVID, and who can afford to live without a check. And, the stimulus check that came out once, who can live off of $1,200 for what, a year? No one. No one, right? So when I
Right.
think of justice, it feels like light years away. And then you see, people marching, you see policies changing, you see AOC in the squad, and you know that it's near, you know that it's possible.
Hmm.
So because I know it's possible, that there is hope there, but not hope without work. So I definitely struggle. Every day is a different day, right? When they finally called the election hopefulness, right? And when he started stomping his feet and having a tantrum, not so much hope. Like, what is happening? Like, it's a seesaw.
Yes.
So word. And this is exactly what we would challenge our children about, like behavior, how to play with others. How do you share your
Yes.
toys? What does it mean when someone says no? Like, like our adults aren't even following the rules that we have taught our children.
Right. Or trying to teach them, or are learning from this to teach them better than maybe previous generations. So
Mhm.
I'm so grateful to poets like you and anybody in the poetry community that's really taking this on to recognize that our children are going to inherit this and
Mm,
we need to do something about it.
mm.
What do you think the role of poetry is right now in society? What is it doing for us?
I think it's two, maybe threefold. I definitely believe it is a communion space. It is where folks are gathering. It's a communal yard. Everyone can find access to a part of their history, their community, themselves, their ancestors through poetry. So poetry is a vibration. It's an energy that's bringing folks closer, that gravitates those who are interested in not just what the word means today, but what it means for the future to come. And I believe that poetry's job is to tell the truth, right? It's to tell the truth when the pundits get it wrong, when
Mhm.
folks are responding more to their favorite sport. Like Democrats and Republicans feel like a sports team now, right? So like
Oh, it
watching the
does.
scores and listening to how people talk. And sometimes I forget that, like, y'all are supposed to be unbiased news. Like, what is this? This is wild. But poetry is the equalizer. Poetry is going to tell the truth, and it won't allow history to revise itself.
Yes,
And
definitely.
then, of
No,
course, the power of poetry is that if you are willing to learn, you have access to it. If you are willing to read, you have access to it. If you want to share your voice, you have access to it. And that's the threefold for me. It is
sure.
everyone's. It belongs to everyone. It is unbiased. It will tell the truth. And I mean, sure, it can be biased. It will still tell the truth about you, though. That's the thing about poetry. You can't get away from. You can say all you want, but there's going to be some history. There's going to be there's going to be this encyclopedia. Remember encyclopedias, the books? It's going to be one of those. And they're going to look at that, and they're going to look at your poem, and they'll be able to decide, okay, what was happening in this time right now. So I love that looking
Exactly.
glass effect.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Like a time capsule, sort
Mm-hmm.
of.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who's going to remember the newscast from November 12th? Probably nobody. It's just, it's just a mush of information that we don't usually know how to trust. But
Yeah.
I mean, and then you said it's sort of like an encyclopedia, but I think that way about YouTube. And there are definitely videos from that you've put out reading poetry or having poetry discussions. I know the Bowery Poetry Club has had some readings that you can access on Zoom. So, I mean, that's just another way for, even if you're not literate, you can go to YouTube and you can participate in these things. And
That's right.
and that's what I love too about the performance poetry that you've been doing, is that you can access anybody, really.
Yeah,
Is
I
there
love that
anything,
too.
oh, sorry.
I
Is
was
there
just
anything,
agreeing, sorry.
yeah, that's okay. Um, so what else can we expect from you in 2021? We're on the cusp of a new year. Do you have any exciting activities coming up?
I do. Can you see my neck? My neck is all stressed.
Just thinking about it.
Yeah, my YA novel drops January 12th. It's my first YA novel. It's a novel in verse, and it is about a young girl finding herself in the midst of a broken friendship. And the themes that I try to touch on are, growing up girl, colorism, consent, addiction, and the impacts of mass incarceration. So I'm trying to juggle all of the conversations
That's
in
big.
this one young girl's life as she is a basketball star, but also like is eclipsed by like one of the most beautiful girls in her class, and does not mind, like that is her best friend, until the friendship gets a little rocky, and then you have to decide, who are you to yourself without your friends?
Mhm. And that's a big, a lot of topics, a lot of big topics that,
Yeah,
I mean, I think adults are confronting too. So,
yeah.
wow, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
And I know that you have the Woke Baby Book Fair.
Yeah,
It's a
we're on
liter
pause right now. We're on
I'm
pause.
sure. Yeah. And
Yeah.
do you have anything remotely going on with that for the literature campaign?
Um, because it's a live, it's an in-person experience. It was my response to missing those scholastic book fairs. I used to
Hmm.
love those, where you get the little magazine, you get to figure out
Yes.
which books you want. And in this case, Woke Baby was the social justice, diverse campaign, right? Responding to that. So everything that is at Woke Baby is talking about activism or identity or languages or ancestry or history or science, but it's very much a part of that social justice bag, where you have to be able to get in there and how do we talk about eating foods from other cultures? How do we talk about pronouncing someone's name correctly?
Mm.
Yeah, just the things that you need to be a righteous global citizen. I wanted to do that for not just the parents, but for young people, to show that there is space for you figuring out what the next part of this world will look like, and here are the tools to do it successfully.
Definitely. And that's so important. Maybe that's what we're not really um, getting for our children in school because of COVID, and just life is kind of scrambled, just like
Yeah.
our morning today, you know?
Right. But
Yeah.
look at the grace that has come. There used to
Yes.
be a time when I would never wait for a meeting. What? You're late. How dare you? Like, you know what I mean? You just like have these hard lines. And if COVID has taught us anything, I think COVID has taught us to be, forgiving and soft, and make room and space for the unimaginable, and find grace. Give grace. If you can't find it in yourself, just give it. Like, it takes nothing. Kindness costs you nothing. And technology has put us in our place, because let the Zoom go out, let
Right.
our internet service go down. No one it won't be the same. So I think that it's taught us how to learn how to be, kind and gracious community members to each other.
Definitely. No,
It's
I totally
humbled
agree.
me. It's humbled me.
Yes, me too. And like you were saying about your new book coming out, how to feel comfortable being alone, just with yourself. I think
Mm-hmm.
we've all had to confront that in the past
Mm-hmm.
few months, not being able to
Yes.
leave the house. But wow, I mean, I feel like this is a conversation that can go on and on. There's just so many topics that we could touch on. I think we're out of time for today. but I wanted to, again, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for taking the time to talk to us. We hope that you have a great experience at the Miami Book Fair, and we look forward to hearing from you again.
Thank you so much. I love Miami Book Fair. Every year, if I'm not presenting, I am attending. So I am a fan. Thank you for making time for me, and have a great one.
Thank you very much, Mahogany.